एक फॉरेन जर्नलिस्ट हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं. शी इज an English sports writer and broadcaster, Isabelle Westbury. So Isabelle, welcome to the show, welcome to Game Set Match, and welcome to Pakistan. And I think you've heard this sentence, welcome to Pakistan, like zillion times.
Oh, well, I don't get tired of hearing that sentence because it's a real privilege to be here. I'm very happy to be in Islamabad in Pakistan and to look forward to this test series.
And Isabelle, I hope you would have realized that this is not a tennis program. We talk about cricket in this show, right? I hope Sawera has briefed you about that.
We're all-rounders, aren't we? We can cover lots of different sports, I'm sure.
All right, that's great. So, welcome to Pakistan. Let me do my part here as well for 197th time that you have heard this greeting. And the good thing is that you are starting from Islamabad. You know, there is a joke, and you'll be traveling. You are visiting Rawalpindi as well. But there's a joke in Pakistan that Islamabad is located 5 kilometers outside Pakistan. The city has got a very different feel. So perhaps, I don't want to offend any of my Rawalpindi friends, but you will get the real sense of taste of Pakistan when you will be traveling to Lahore and Karachi. Nevertheless, we are all set for the Benaud-Qadir trophy. How about the selection of the name? We were talking about that, Isabelle. You like the name?
I really do. I really like it for the historical context. I think Richie Benaud, obviously, he only played 4 tests against Pakistan, yeah. but there were the 1959 tour, Australia tour to Pakistan was obviously quite a big one. It was when Australia won 2-0. It's very rare that they do that when they come to Pakistan. And of course, it was also I think the 3rd test in Karachi was the one in which the US President, Dwight Eisenhower, watched a very slow, very turgid day of test cricket, and no US president has watched cricket since, so I don't know what that means about what they think about test cricket. But there's a lot of history, and I think, you know, to have a series that's named after 2 greats of the game in different eras, perhaps, it just lends itself to the gravitas of this historical series. I think it's brilliant.
It's really brilliant. And when we talk about this series, Isabelle, is this the first time that you've been to Pakistan? And what do you think about the Pindi Stadium? Because I know you've been there already.
Yes, this is my first time in Pakistan, and I think I'm so happy to finally be here because I was intending to come for the England tour. The England men's and women's team were going to come here in October. Of course, that got called off at short notice, and it was really disappointing. I could see how disappointing it was for Pakistan Cricket Board. It was disappointing on a personal level because I was so looking forward to coming. And I think also from a global cricket perspective, I felt it was a really bad decision from England. I think they let down Pakistan cricket, frankly. So I was very intent on coming to Pakistan at the next possible opportunity. And having been in Australia, where I didn't see a single England team win across the whole of the summer out there, I'm very much looking forward to Pakistan perhaps beating Australia, because I haven't seen it that often, and I'm looking for a little bit of something out here.
Isabelle, you can leave it on us. Don't worry about that. Australians are going to get some lessons, some very nice lessons in Urdu here. I mean, just on a lighter side, did it take, I mean, coming to Pakistan, the entire idea and the thought, unfortunately, the image that is created, the image that is created of Pakistan all across the world, did it take some convincing to the loved one around you? I mean, your well-wishers and all calling up, hey, you're going to Pakistan, be very careful and stuff. Yeah. So, did it happen or no?
Yeah, I think, yeah, to be truthful, it did. You definitely have, you know, colleagues. Even when I was coming out with England, I was going to be, I think, the only English journalist out here, because it was a short tour for the men, and there are concerns around that. But I think there's a big disconnect between the perception when you're at home, you're in England, and you think, oh, Pakistan, and everyone talks about all the incidents in the past. But, you know, a lot of work has been done on a global scale, on cricket scale as well. And only to see the security arrangements that are in place, I think it was very important for, I guess, Western journalists or from Australia, from England or wherever, to be on the ground, because then you can see for yourself that once you arrive in a country like Pakistan, it's so much more than a security concern. You know, if I think about the England series in the summer just gone, we had more security breaches and people running onto the pitch than I think I've ever seen in a Pakistan test. And so I think that the perception versus the reality is very different. I've been lucky, I guess. I grew up outside of England. My family lived in Damascus, in Syria for a number of years. So, and it's the same thing there. When we were there, it was amazing. We were so welcome. We lived a very free life. The culture is vibrant. The cuisine is brilliant. The people are lovely. And I was very confident that the same would be in Pakistan. Once you arrive here, then you get to experience it. And thank goodness we are here.
When you talk about cuisines, the next question, obviously, I'll ask about food, because we Pakistanis are very crazy about our food. We love our food, and I hope you're loving it too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've only been here for, I guess, 48 hours, but we've been very, very lucky. I like my spicy food as well, and we went out to a lovely restaurant yesterday evening. Tonight, I think we'll be here for a barbecue. So yes, I am very happy with Pakistani food, and more of it, please.
And Isabelle, before we talk serious stuff about cricket, I was just going through your profile, and it said that you've spent your childhood in Mongolia, in Malaysia, in Eastern Island, in Syria, of course, you mentioned about that, and you have played cricket for the Netherlands. So you've been quite a nomad, right?
A cocktail.
Yeah, I was. But that's part of like one of the reasons I wanted to come to Pakistan, because the world is out there. My dad, he was a geologist, and so we lived all over the world. And I've been to India a number of times to watch cricket, and I think that's that you never lose that sense when you have that bug, and when you've been to different places. In many ways, England is my foreign land, so I feel very at home here in Pakistan.
Brilliant.
Okay, so now talking about cricket, some serious talk regarding cricket now. You were there at Pindi Stadium yesterday when you get to see the pitch there. Looking at the pitch, like if you have a distant look for the pitch, it looked like a belter. But once you get a closer look, it looks like maybe there are just 2 more days, it'll get more drier, there'd be more cracks. What's your take on the pitch of Pindi Stadium?
Yeah, interesting. We listened to Nathan Lyon, the Australian off-spinner, earlier today, and he's saying that didn't look as though there'd be much spin. I think it will lend itself to seam. I think we'll see certainly like that reverse swing coming out in the later days of the test. I think Australia will probably only play with 1 spinner. They've got a few part-timers as well. They've got obviously a very strong seam attack. I think it will. Yeah, I don't think it will break up all that much, to be honest. I think it will favour the seamers, and of course for Pakistan, I hope that nobody else gets either injured or COVID, because that's where you think the tussles are going to be. Both teams do have stellar seam lineup, so I think it will be a true track, and I'm looking forward to a good contest.
Yeah, and if you go by the reputation, Isabelle, then Rawalpindi has actually got the reputation. It has got, compared to other tracks that you'll be seeing on your tour in Lahore and Karachi, it has got a slight bit of, it does help the pacers. We have seen it in the recent times that the wicket may look that it is helping the batsman, but there is always something there for the seamers. So, when you look at the seam attack for Pakistan, you'll be seeing Shahid, Afridi there. And Shahid is right now on cloud number 9, because his team, Lahore Qalandars, won the Pakistan Super League. So were you following Pakistan Super League, by the way?
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, I was actually flying, I think, when the final took place. So I didn't watch, I wasn't able to watch the final, but I've certainly been following it, because we've got a number of Australian players, a number of England players that have been there as well. And it's a great tournament. So 100% I've been following it.
And for the English commentators and for the English analysts, I think PSL, I mean, they have to give some credit to the PSL, because they just bring out some unknown English player for many of them, like Livingston. And I think this year we had this Harry Brook, and this year Will Snead. I mean, a very baby-faced cricketer, and we were thinking, wow, who is he? And he was there. I think he came very close to scoring 2 centuries in this PSL. So I think for English analysts and commentators, I think PSL is one tournament they should be following very, very closely, because they can see a number of their future stars there playing. James Wince, I think he started his foreign franchise career. Livingston is one of those. Joe Clark. They all started in PSL 5-6 years back.
Alex Hales had a wonderful
Alex Hales,
in the PSL as well. And actually, I think the PSL has a wider resonance off the pitch as well. Now that it's moved back to Pakistan, I think it played a really important role, for example, in Shane Watson being one of the sort of advocates to the players for Australia and making them comfortable that Pakistan is a perfectly brilliant place to come to and to play cricket. So I think, and hopefully that will play a role as well when England come over, the England men's test team come over later this year. There's some breakout stars on the pitch and there's some good diplomacy off it. So I'm a big fan of the PSL, 100%.
Brilliant.
Isabella, talking about this Australia tour to Pakistan, as you mentioned, and I remember you were very vocal about when ECB said that they're not touring Pakistan, and you were very vocal. I've seen many footages of you talking about it and you being furious about it. Now, Australia versus Pakistan, how important do you think this tour is for, not just for Pakistan cricket, but the balance of cricket, the balance of world cricket altogether?
Oh yeah, I mean, for years I think I've been worried in the men's game, especially, that you've got this so-called big three, England, India, Australia, who have kind of formed a little racket around themselves, and you know, I mean, Australia haven't toured another country other than England for years now. Their last overseas tour was in 2019, and that was to England for the Ashes. So I think that this, you know, there are some amazing test teams. I mean, if you're looking at just the performance on the field, England are a pretty poor test side at the moment. But Pakistan, South Africa, Sri Lanka as well, New Zealand, of course, the #1 test series. The idea that you've got this big three is just absolutely absurd. So yeah, of course, it's extremely important that Pakistan be playing test cricket back here, but also be showing how good they are as a test side. If you look at actually some of the best players in this Pakistan test side, even Babar Azam, I think he's only played 30-odd tests. Like the amount of test cricket that Pakistan is able to play at the moment compared to the likes of England, who arguably play too much test cricket, there's a real imbalance. So I think we need to get that back in the men's test cricket world. But also I think it's important when you think about the global game on the women's scale, is that there's an imbalance as well. You've got England and Australia with a lot of money and investment in the women's game. You could argue that India has the money but hasn't got the attitude or the intent to invest in the women's game. But I'm hearing already that Pakistan is thinking of, the PCB is thinking of a women's PSL as early as next year. So yeah, I think this could pave the way for a more equal playing field in both the men's and the women's game, and I'm looking forward to the future.
Exactly, and the recent performance that Pakistan women cricket team is having right now, like in the warm-ups, they have beaten New Zealand, then they've yesterday they've beaten Bangladesh, so which means they're heading in the right direction. But before we go any further, Isabella, we'll go on a short break. And welcome back to Game Set Match, in conversation with Isabelle Westbury, English sports writer and broadcaster. And Isabelle, moving on further, talking about this series, Australia tour to Pakistan, who would be your three trump cards from Australia and from Pakistan?
Oh, now you've got me. I think from Australia, you can't go past the captain, Pat Cummins. He had a really good first series as captain against England. And I think that the pitches out here will really suit his height, his bounce. I think Marnus Labuschagne, as far as the batting is concerned, we've seen how much he's been preparing, both with his mat that he's invented back at home before he came out, and he's a real student of the game. And then I think Mitchell Starc as well. I think he had a sort of a comeback series against Australia, against England, where perhaps some people have written him off, but he's such a potent left-arm seamer. For Pakistan, let me think. I mean, Babar Azam, I think I'm just looking forward to seeing him in his whites again. Obviously, we know that he was the ODI Cricketer of the Year last year, but he's such an important player in that middle order, that anchor for Pakistan. Shahid Afridi, I mean, I know he's a name on everyone's lips, and it's very easy to say that as well. And then I think I'm quite looking forward to seeing Abdullah Shafiq as well.
All right.
Obviously, he played really well against Bangladesh in the last matches. So I think he's somebody who's obviously quite new to the scene. We haven't seen a lot of him, but he's had a really good start at the top of the order, and I expect him to start as well in that first Test match. So I think those are my three to watch.
All right, Isabelle, we created a playing 11 for Pakistan in our yesterday's game. One of the analysts was here with us, and we did not put Abdullah Shafiq in our squad, in our team, the playing 11.
Yeah.
So just to make sure that you watch him play, I think we're dropping Shan from our team, and we are bringing in Abdullah. All right, so that you can watch him play, and maybe score a century against Australia as well. But one player. Sorry, please carry on.
Who does your team have opening? Because I had Shan Masood and Abdullah Shafiq opening, or am I off the boil there?
We have Shan Masood and Azhar Ali opening.
Azhar Ali. We got Azhar Ali to open.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So, but one player from Australia that we Pakistanis won't mind scoring tons of runs as long as Australia is not winning is Usman Khwaja. And Usman Khwaja, I mean, he's been a wonderful ambassador of the game. I mean, he's been a very vocal advocate of the cricket returning to Pakistan. And the way he's been talking, I mean, not just Usman, but many Australian players have been acting like, not cricketers, but like diplomats. I mean, the overall body language, the tone, the selection of words has been superlative. I mean, there's hardly any mentioning of, unless a Pakistani journalist asks that, there's hardly any mention of security and concerns and stuff. The focus is entirely on cricket. They are on a mission here, and the mission is a pretty noble one. I mean, bringing normalcy to Pakistan as far as cricket is concerned. Just a few thoughts on the role of the overall Australian cricketers' attitude, and especially Usman Khwaja. Isabelle?
Oh, it's incredibly important. And I think a lot of credit has to go to the Australian Cricketers Association. So that's the representative body for the players. And they had representatives coming out alongside the governing body, Cricket Australia, to Pakistan before this series. And they were the ones, I think, that were very important in getting the players comfortable. So Usman Khwaja has been elected onto their board. So he's now, he's in his 30s. He's quite settled. He's a new dad. He's captain of his state side. And he's quite a strong voice within that team. And obviously, he's come back into the Australian setup when he made back-to-back hundreds. So I think he's somebody that a lot of the players have used as a sounding board. But then I think also the past players, Shane Watson, of course, who's played so many seasons in the PSL and absolutely loved his time here. He's now the president of the Australian Cricketers Association, so I think his voice is very important. George Bailey, who's the chief selector for the Australian men's team, he played a few years back. I think it was an invitational T20 series for a World 11 that came out here in 2017.
True.
But then you go back even to the players that played here back in the 1990s. I think Darren Lehmann, he's been a very big advocate of the Australian men's team coming back out. So I think the past players from both the recent past who have played in T20s over here, but also those that last played here in the last Test series were around, and then the Australian Cricketers Association as a whole. It's been a real group effort, and it's something that I think a lot of other nations, and I would suggest England, could learn from as well, because I think it's been nothing but positive from those voices.
Exactly, and I hope that this series would open the gates for all the other countries who hesitate to come here to this region, to this part of this world. So I hope it gets better and we get to see a very good and cracking series here. But thank you, Isabelle. Thanks a lot for your time. Thanks for being here.
And we would look forward to welcome you in our studio, because
when you
are in Karachi for the second Test, and you won't be staying very far away from where our studio is located. So it will be an honor to welcome you here.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Isabelle. Thanks a lot.